All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending tonight's regular scheduled meeting of the Temple City Council. It's currently about 10 minutes after 5. My apologies for running a little bit late. We will have the invocation led by Pastor Tom Lamb and Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our City Secretary, Jan Llewellyn. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending tonight. So nice, we'll listen to it twice. Very good. So please rise.
Pray with me. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for this wonderful community in which we live and for those who've been elected to lead us. And we thank you, oh God, that tonight we have the opportunity to listen to one another and grant us the wisdom and the grace we need in the midst of these deliberations so that we may be truly faithful, that we may listen to one another, and that we may gather with a spirit of grace and peace. We ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Now, at the portion of the meeting where we will accept public comments. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may do so. We ask that you please keep your public comments limited to 3 minutes and understand that no action or discussion by the city council will occur. Have a couple of folks that have signed up. First, Mr. Dan Kaser.
I'm Dan Kaser, longtime resident of Temple, Texas. And I was wondering if the council can do something about if you've got structure and the doors get kicked down and you replace them, about getting criminal charges filed on you for working without a permit, even though door replacement is not a permittable deal, nor is siding. And, you know, an innocent citizen facing $5,000 to $10,000 in fines for securing property, which I would think would be an asset to the city. And that's, and then to repeatedly keep, even after 2 unanimous not guilty verdicts, to repeatedly keep filing the same thing over and over. I noticed, I don't know where it comes from, where y'all said an active thing can't be mentioned, but anything that's been through 2 unanimous not guilty verdicts is final, and that's not an active deal. Right across the street, there's somebody, you know, a family living in a camper trailer, which is definitely illegal. And once again, like I mentioned last time, the selective enforcement right in front of the municipal building and across the street, there was people backing in, unloading stuff. But yet when we hired somebody at the bookstore to deliver books and they backed in, they gave, you know, they came and ticketed them. And so once again, I would just say that the council should, it's not even an exception. It just common sense. I mean, what's the solution? Just leave a building or house hanging open for the people to keep breaking in? Or wouldn't it be better to put the door back without having to face $10,000 in fines and go through, you know, it's a lengthy process going through jury trials, very lengthy process. And a lot of, you know, it's a criminal charge, just like murder or rape. And, you know, it takes a lot out of you for frivolous things to be followed by the city and harassing, you know, citizens that follow the law.
Thank you, Dan. Mr. Grisham.
CJ Grisham, Temple, Texas. Thankfully, I'm here today. I'm usually on the road And what I have been doing on the road lately is filing lawsuits against the Aransas Pass, filing lawsuits against San Antonio, filing lawsuits against Fort Worth, filing lawsuits against Belton. And this is what I'm working on towards Killeen. Why? Because of stuff like this. This is your agenda. We got an entire page of unconstitutional nonsense here. I don't know who's approving this. The government code is very clear that whoever's putting this on here, first of all, y'all don't have to listen to this. This means nothing because it violates the government code. If you're currently in civil or criminal litigation with the city or any of its officers or officials, you don't have the right to seek redress of your government. Seriously? There's no First Amendment in Temple? We can't be, quote, disrespectful? What does that mean? Because 551.007 says a government body may not prohibit public criticism of the government body, including criticism of any act, omission, policy, procedure, program, or service. So if you're charging people with bogus crimes and they want to come up here and let the community know, hey, our code enforcement is being used against our political adversaries, they have a right to do that. You can't stop them. I don't know where you're getting this idea that just because we're engaged in criminal litigation that we can't talk, that we can't speak. I don't know where this is coming from. Is it the TML talking to all of these city councils that I'm having to sue on First Amendment grounds? Because it's all the same nonsense. We are now doing the exact same thing as those big cities do that love to put their thumbs on everybody. 551.00 or 042 says that you can make a statement of factual information or you can make a recitation of existing policy. So I would like one of those two and ask you, what does it mean to be disrespectful? I would like a statement of factual information or a recitation of existing policy under 551.042. Because how is a citizen supposed to know he's being disrespectful? If I say you all need to be fired, is that disrespectful? If I say someone's a piece of shit, is that disrespectful? What is it? What's disrespectful mean? Nobody? I got 13 seconds. Listen. Nothing. Well, just don't make me add simple to all these papers.
Thanks, CJ. It's good to see you again. All right, next item is to receive the City of Temple's annual comprehensive financial report. Mr. Niemeyer. Tracy, you have some
Just
introductory thoughts?
wanted to start off the city of, according to the city charter of the city of Temple, an annual independent audit is required to be made of the financial records of the city by a certified public accountant selected by the city council. And the council selected Brockway, Gershbach, Franklin, and Niemeyer. And tonight, Mr. Steve Niemeyer will present an overview of the comprehensive annual report. Mr. Niemeyer.
Well, thank you, Tracy. It's a privilege to be here tonight to present the annual comprehensive financial report for the city of Temple. This is as of September 30th, 2023. As we look at the financial report, we look at the data, what you'll see repeated over and over again is growth of the city. I don't think any of us are surprised by the growth of the city, but the numbers even surprised me a little bit. It's appropriate we started out with a picture of the Santa Fe Plaza with the Santa Fe Business Center. When people come to town to start a business or move a business to Temple, this is what they see. This is where they go first. So it's appropriate we start here. I'm Steve Niemeyer, and I represent Brockway, Gershbach, Franklin, and Niemeyer, CPA. The city has a commitment, it has long had a commitment in excellence financial reporting. And that's evident with the achievement of these awards. There's a distinguished budget presentation award, and the city has now been recognized 28 consecutive years. There's this certificate of achievement for the excellence in financial reporting, which is actually the review of the annual comprehensive financial report. And the city has been recognized for 42 consecutive years in the excellence in reporting. In addition, we worked with the finance team this year to implement the SPITA, which is basically the subscription-based information technology agreements standard for the current year, and also help capitalize contributed infrastructure. So what do we do when we do an audit? This was an audit of the city's primary government, which is all governmental activities and their business type activities. It also includes 2 component units, the reinvestment zone and the Temple Economic Development Corporation. As of the end of the year, we verify all the balances of the assets of the city. There's $1.4 billion in assets that the city has. It also has $873 million in liabilities, and we confirm and verify those balances. We test the controls and activities of all the revenues and expenses of the city. There's $232 million in revenues received in the current year. There was almost $80 million in payroll, $140 million in operating expenses, and $234 million in capital assets and debt payments during the fiscal year. We also conduct a single audit for all federal and state monies. We did a review of $4 million of federal grants and $3.7 million of state grants. We assist the city's finance team to prepare the annual comprehensive report. And our audit report is unmodified or clean opinion, which means that the financial statements that we looked at and were presented by the city were fairly presented. Some financial highlights for the year. The city has grown about 5% this last year, and we're approaching the population of 95,000. This is evidence of just new jobs as well. This is something that really is staggering. The significant new construction permits, there was $1.27 billion in permits issued in 2023. That's all permits. That would include the permits for businesses and also for school districts and other local governments like Temple College. New businesses, several new businesses have moved or are in the process of moving to Temple. Turner Barrington Development Corporation, Niagara, Meta, Federal Express, HEB, and Starcore Sheets. The revenues of the city have increased, 11% increase in services revenue, 15% increase in property tax revenues, 12% increase in sales tax, and the city received $67.4 million in capital grants and contributions of infrastructure. Governmental expenses increased $31 million during the year. The water and wastewater expenses increased $7 million over last year. In total, the revenues exceeded the expenditures by $78.6 million, which includes $40.1 million as a contributed infrastructure. Significant activity in terms of investing in the future include the city invested $130 million in capital assets during the year. This included the zone's share of that investment of $38.4 million. The city issued bonds, $41.3 million in bonds and $2.9 million of notes in governmental activities. It issued $37.5 million in utility system revenue bonds and issued $38.4 million in bonds in the zone. The pension liability, the net pension liability for TMRS increased $33.9 million, and the net pension liability for firemen increased $13.3 million. OPEB liabilities actually decreased for the year by $1 million. This next schedule we're looking at will show the revenues. This is the primary government. This does not include the component units, but this is primary government. It'd be all the governmental and business type activities. The water and wastewater services is the largest revenue outside of contributions for the city, and it grew 50% since 2018. Governmental services, which is really fees and services that are provided by the city. It increased from $31 million to $43 million in the last 6 years. Property tax revenue increased, even though the total revenue increased from 26 million to $42 million. The actual rate for property tax declined to 90% of the rate that it was in 2018. So the rate in 2018 was 67 and 72 cents, and in the current year is 61 and 30 cents. So 61.3 cents. This is a sales tax. The sales tax is probably the easiest indicator of how much your economy is growing. In the last 6 years, the sales tax grew 67%. This is franchise fees. This is grants and contributions of infrastructure. One of the biggest components of this is when a developer comes and develops a subdivision. At the end of that development, they contribute the infrastructure, the streets, the drainage, the sewer, the wastewater, all the things that they put into that subdivision, they contribute it to the city. So it's a non-cash contribution, but it is a contribution. And of that $40 million, that $72 million is that type of a contribution. And the last is interest and other. It's been a long time since we talked about interest income. But of that $19 million in the current year, we had $15 million of interest income. That's good for us, bad for the bankers, I guess.
They're still getting their share.
They're getting their share on both ends, right?
Yes, sir.
So in total, total revenues increased from 146 million to $275 million for the city. That's an 88% increase over the last 6 years. And a big part of that is the development cost that's being put in for the city by the developers to develop out land and build new houses and new properties for our citizens. Water and wastewater expenses are the single largest department for the city. It grew from 31 to $53 million. That's a 27. It represents 27% of the total expenses of the city. Public safety is the second largest component and represents 23.5% of the total expenses. General government expenses are 14.7% of the total. Culture and leisure, 12.7. Highway and streets is 7.5. Sanitation is 7%. And all things other is 8%. But you can see the trend of the growth in the city is mirrored in the expenses as well, as the city provides services for all the new citizens. So the summary of net position, this is where you are. This is your assets less your liabilities. This is how much of your equity, if you would, in the city. There's three major components of this. The unrestricted, this is the cash that's available to start the year. The unrestricted portion of the assets of the city. It's relatively flat with $16 million in 19. It's $23 million. It's $19 million in 23. Restricted monies are a relatively small component. As wouldn't be surprised that the most important component is the net capital assets. This is the infrastructure the city has in place to provide services, streets, drainage, water, wastewater plant. And as we're growing, the commitment to this part of the city is growing as well. This is the equity that the city has in the infrastructure of the city. In total, the city has net assets of $416 million, and that balance has grown in total, which is almost all coming from net capital assets by 70% since 2018. One of the other component units that we have is the reinvestment zone, and this is helping contribute to the need for infrastructure and how it's being invested. There's three main things that the reinvestment zone is investing in. The first is land. It invested it started at $20 million. It's up to $26 million invested in land. And these are cumulative investment. Well, this is, I guess, annual investments here. This is construction in progress. That amount changes every year, but this shows you the amount of activity that's going on right now. There are $61 million of work in process or projects are in process at the end of the year. And then how much they've contributed towards the infrastructure. In total, they've contributed $155 million towards infrastructure for the city. Any questions? As I mentioned, you can't look at the financial statements of the city and not understand the growth and what's happening in the city. You can't go anywhere without seeing it. And so, it's a good picture. Financially, the city is in excellent shape and it's well managed. The finance team does an excellent job of putting together the financial documents, the annual comprehensive report, the budgeting that gets presented to the community. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Niemeyer. We appreciate that. One thing as council members and executive staff here is we talk about growth. And in many ways, it's sort of like, we've got a tiger by the tail. You can't let go of it, but in many ways, you feel like it's getting away from you. So with the rate of growth that we have, I'm proud that this council and that the executive leadership realizes the rate of growth that we have, and that we adopt a tax rate to not only maintain what we have, but at the same time to be able to put in other projects that are needed. It's easy to when things are going well financially, that you sort of back off your investment in your capital investments, et cetera, thinking that that growth will just sort of take care of itself, but it doesn't. And the fact that again, Tracy and your department are able to control those things and to be creative and to be insightful as to how to slot out those future expenditures, big future expenditures, and that at the same time we're able to maintain the revenue it takes to put these projects in place. And to the citizens of Temple that are shopping locally, and that our sales tax is growing, and as long as we can keep the sales tax revenue coming in, it helps your property tax. And to take all the pieces and put it together into a budget that is affordable, and to keep things moving. And then, as this report shows, that that the money is handled well, is just, I think it's a testament to staff and Tracy for your long-standing work here for how many years? Is it okay to say?
31 and a half.
31 and a half years. So that's astounding. And to have a good report, as we always do, right? We never end up with a bad report. So it's a testament to what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And my staff wasn't able to, or they're working on something else this afternoon. But I do want to send out a special thank you to Melissa Probelski, Jennifer Emerson, Sherry Pogar, Stacy Reisner, the whole finance staff they put a lot of hard work into this, and worked with Steve many hours on getting the report together, but thanks to them for what they do.
Yep.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome. I do think that you mentioned the longevity for Tracy, but her entire team has been with the city for many, many years. And I think that really does make a big difference on
Yep.
and how things are handled and why things work so smoothly. So I think that speaks to her leadership, to be able to have a team that stays with you. That's not something you see in businesses or in governments very often anymore.
Right. Very good. Thank you. Okay, next we will move on to special recognitions. If I could please have Sergeant Casey Shepard come to the front. Ron, if you'll come to the front, and Sean, if you'll come to the front. It's my pleasure to be able to present this Sean, do you want to do your part first? You want me to read the proclamation? What do you want me to do?
Can I set it up for you a little bit?
Yes, please do.
And you can knock it out of the park, sir.
That's great.
CPR each year in in the United States, approximately 350,000 cardiac arrests occur outside of a hospital setting. CPR can double or triple a person's chance of survival. Unfortunately, only about 40% of people who experience cardiac arrest get the immediate help that they need. That's not tonight's story. So it's about almost an hour after midnight, and a call comes into the Bell County Dispatch Center that gets cross-referenced. It's actually in Bell County, but it's pretty close to the city limits. It gets sent over to our dispatch center. It shows up in the officers' MDTs. Sergeant Shepard that night had finished his shift and he was heading home for the night. He sees the call come over. He recognizes he's in a close location. He responds. He begins multiple rounds of single person CPR and then 2-person CPR. And ultimately the ambulance arrives and Mr. Scott's transported to the hospital. We called later on that night, as is not uncommon for us, to try and check on the status of how folks are doing. They said without Casey Shepard and the other first responders, Mr. Scott would have likely not survived that call, but that he was stable or doing well at that time, considering all the facts. Just from a chief's perspective, I couldn't be more proud of you, Casey. That man is going to do great things within the police department in future years. He is a rock star. He is a servant leader, and this is just a testament to that. And I'm grateful for you. That's it.
Yeah, that's great. I would like to read a quick proclamation that came from State Senators Flores. Are you walking? You think it's open? Hold on, Rod. I'd like to read a quick proclamation from Senator Flores' office. And before I do, though, Casey, we appreciate your work. I think a lot of times we, as maybe as general citizens, but also here at the council, we talk about a lot of budgets. We do a lot of things. We work hard to be sure that there's money available to the police department to be able to carry out their tasks. But here we are. We have an officer that was trained, that was ready to go. We had the communication system in place, and had a person in distress. And you were able to take your training and apply that to Ron, who's a very dear friend of mine. We go to church together, have for a number of years, and saved his life. And frankly, Chief, this officers a lot of times get a bad rap for whatever reason.
What?
I know, shocking. But tonight is testament to the many, many good things that you guys do, and the fact that you were trained and ready to step into the gap and take care of my dear friend. Appreciate it. Okay, so if I may, this is from Pete Flores' office, and it reads, whereas Sergeant Casey Shepard of the Temple Police Department was recently recognized by the Temple City Council for his role in rescuing a man experiencing a medical emergency on January 1st, 2024. Whereas on that day, Sergeant Shepard was driving home from work when he heard an emergency call regarding a 79-year-old man who was in apparent cardiac arrest. Upon arrival on the scene, Sergeant Shepard discovered that the man had stopped breathing and immediately initiated CPR. Whereas Sergeant Shepard's intervention succeeded in restoring the man's breathing. The man is Ron Scott. I don't like calling you the man, right? But I guess that's not bad. Succeeded in restoring the man's breathing. The patient was stabilized further by members of the Little River Fire Department before being transported to a local hospital for treatment. Whereas, thanks to his swift and skillful response, Sergeant Casey Shepard helped to avert a potential tragedy, and it is indeed fitting that he be honored for his heroism now, and therefore may it be resolved that Sergeant Casey Shepard be commended for rendering medical aid to a citizen in need, and that he be extended sincere best wishes for the future. So again, thank you for being prepared and working on my good friend. If you'd like to say a few words and if you'll hand the mic to Ron.
I would just like to just real quickly touch on a couple things. I'd like to thank the chief of police and the mayor, all of city council and city administration for providing us with the training and the equipment that we need to be able to go out and do things like this. And I'll also like to thank Mr. Scott. This is it's important. I appreciate that for reasons that you don't even know. So I really appreciate that. And the last thing I want to say is that the police officers of the city of Temple do this all the time. And very rarely does it get recognized in this way. So I wanted to point out that this is something that, occurs all the time. It's great men and women with the police department here that go out into our community and do this every single day. So they all deserve recognition as well.
Good.
Opportunity to speak with Mr. Davis. I told him that I wanted to meet Sergeant Shepherd, and I wanted to commend every policeman that I've ever known for being able to do what they do. Firefighters as well, first responders. It's so important that they be recognized for honesty. Too much need, except for the other thing I wanted to emphasize to everyone is if you ever had CPR training, wonderful. Do it. CPR training when she was much younger than she was. And she used that training the other night. Thank you very much.
Do want to point out that Ron, I saw Ron at church and he asked me specifically, Chief, for this moment because he wanted to be able to take the time and express this publicly. This wasn't my idea. He very much wanted to express his appreciation to you guys. So thank you, Whites and Scotts.
Pass that tissue.
All right, moving on. Item number 5 is to recognize March 2024 as Procurement Month and March 13th, 2024 as Procurement Professionals Day. Ms. Matke. And you have Ms. Harrington. Oh, good. You have a bunch of folks. Good. First, let me read this proclamation, if you would. Introduce your staff and tell us a little bit about what you guys do. Okay, this proclamation reads from the office of the mayor of the city of Temple. Whereas the public procurement profession, that rolled off the tongue. Public procurement profession and the city of Temple's purchasing department plays a significant role in the efficiency and effectiveness of both government and business. And whereas in addition to the purchase of goods and services, the city's purchasing department adds value to the organization by performing such functions as executing, implementing, and administering contracts, developing strategic procurement strategies, and cultivating working relationships with suppliers and other departments within the organization. And whereas public procurement professionals in the city's purchasing department in other public and private organizations have tremendous influence on the economic conditions in the United States and a cumulative purchasing power running into the billions of dollars. Whereas the city's purchasing department serves as the gatekeeper of the competitive process and is entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring that the competitive processes are conducted with fairness and transparency, for partners in the business community. And whereas the city's purchasing department is focused on excellence in public procurement. And whereas the National Institute of Governmental Purchasing has proclaimed the month of March as Procurement Month, and the National Procurement Institute has proclaimed the second Wednesday of every March as Procurement Professionals Day to expand the awareness of the public procurement professionals' role to governmental officials, the general public, business, and corporate leaders. Now therefore, I, Timothy A. Davis, Mayor of the City of Temple, Texas, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Procurement Month and March 13th, 2024 as Procurement Professionals Days, and urge all citizens in Temple to join the City Council in recognizing the role of the procurement professionals within the business, industry, and government. In testimony whereof, I witness my hand on the seal of the City of Temple, Texas, on this 7th day of March 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
So I am just extremely proud to be the leader of this department. I've been in the purchasing department 17 years. So when Tracy talked to me and said, Belinda, would you like to take the lead of the purchasing department? I said, I don't know anything about purchasing. I'm an accountant. But it's been the best move of my life. I've just really enjoyed the 17 years I've been there and hoping to do several more. Great team that we have here. Randy Hairston is our Assistant Director over purchasing and really runs the department along with Sarah Parker on the end. She is our purchasing manager. We have two buyers with us, Deborah Hollingsworth, if you raise your hand, and Monica Townsend. And then we have Christy Richter. She is our procurement specialist, and Casey Adams is our accounts payable specialist. So basically every transaction that we do through the city, other than really buying land, but we still have to set up vendors for that. But and payroll, we don't touch that. But all other outgoing cash and so forth touches our department in some way through our staff here. So just extremely proud to be their leader and appreciate all the hard work they do.
Good. Kelly, if you'll bring that back up, well, the next item on the agenda is to recognize the Temple Public Library for receiving the TMLDA Excellence Award. Ms. Alvera. I'm sorry, I thought you might speak from the podium, but you have your crew here, so go ahead and stay up front and use the mic.
Okay, that'll work. Thank you. All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I was going to ask if Ms. Susan Long, since you are the councilperson liaison for the Temple Public Library Advisory Board, would you mind coming up to present this award? All right, so each year, the Texas, you're fine. Each year, the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association confers awards for outstanding contributions to public libraries in their communities. Since 1966, TMLDA has served to promote the public library profession, improve the methods of library service delivery, and maintain high standards of professional ethics. The achievement of library excellence is open to TMLDA, it's a long acronym, members, member library directors, and the libraries they represent. To receive the Achievement of Library Excellence Award, the library must support standards of excellence in categories such as collaboration with community organizations, enhanced services for either an increase of service or additional types of services, and to serve underserved populations in their community. The Temple Public Library demonstrated distinction with its many programs and services in 2023, including the Homebound program, programming for parents on autism spectrum disorder diagnoses, SAT and ACT test prep workshops, the STEAM team, the Art of Gratitude, and partnering for the Home Buying and Home Maintenance Academy workshops. Of the 545 public libraries in the state of Texas, only 84 of them received this award for 2023. So it is with great pride and gratitude that I present this award to the staff of the Temple Public Library.
No, I'll get out of the way.
I know. We can lay low.
Yeah. See my bald head hovering above it.
Thank you.
Congratulations, everybody. Thank
Yep.
you for letting me stand up with you. I really appreciate it.
Very good. Congratulations. All right, and the next item is to present the NAACP Ruby Bridges Trailblazer Award to City Manager Bryn Myers. And Councilmember Grant, would you like to do the honors?
I'm going to turn it over to our PR marketing, Bill Leak.
Oh, very good.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Bill Leak. I'm the Publicity Chair for the Temple Branch NAACP. And it gives me great pleasure to present this award to a great person I've been knowing for many years, Bryn Myers. She's a woman of great integrity, and she really loves this city. And on February the 10th, 2024, at the NAACP Temple Branch Founders Day celebration, the branch honored 7 inaugural recipients with the Ruby Bridges Trailblazer Award. And the NAACP acknowledges the achievements of outstanding individuals that collectively strive towards a future of justice, equality, and empowerment. Ms. Myers, could you please come forward? The city manager, Bryn Myers, was on vacation when we honored her. So we would like to present her with this award before all to see. I wish I was on vacation right now. We are delighted to extend our warmest congratulations to you on being honored with the prestigious Ruby Bridges Trailblazer Award. This recognition is a testament to your extraordinary achievements and unwavering commitment to breaking barriers in your field. As the first to integrate the school system, Ruby Bridges paved the way for others to follow in her footsteps and shattered the oppressive chains of segregation. In much the same way, you embodied the essence of the word trailblazer by being the first to hold this distinguished title of first woman city manager of Temple. Your pioneering spirit, resilience, and dedication have not only set a remarkable precedent, but have also opened doors for countless others to embark on a similar journey. Your outstanding contributions have not only propelled you to the forefront of your field, but have also left an indelible mark on history. Your courage in facing challenges head on and your commitment to fostering inclusivity have undoubtedly inspired and empowered those around you. The Ruby Bridges Trailblazer Award is a well-deserved recognition of your groundbreaking accomplishments. It serves as a reminder that, like Ruby Bridges, you have paved the way for others to dream bigger and aspire to achieve greatness in their own right. May this award be a source of pride and motivation for you to continue blazing new trails and pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Your achievements not only reflect your personal success, but also contribute to the progress of our society as a whole. Once again, Bryn, we congratulate you for your achievement.
Thank
this
you.
award. And if we could, we'd like to have a friend of mine. And if I could, would you like to have a word?
I
So,
would like
but
to
certainly.
say thank
You
you.
go
Oh
ahead.
my gosh, look at that. I was afraid you were going to put up my mullet picture again. I am just so incredibly honored for this. It took me by surprise and made me cry when I got the letter that I was being honored, because I think if you read Ruby's story, it's such a powerful story of a really brave person, and to even be associated with her name is such an honor. And I have been really blessed to have the opportunity to lead our organization, and I'm proud that I've been the first woman to do so, and I hope there's many, many more to come. Thank you all.
So I'd like to get
Picture. Yeah.
recipients of the Ruby Vision report, come take a photo if you could. And secondly, if I could get the members of the Temple Branch NAACP to do photos as well. Be our first photo here.
Yeah.
Let's get our recipients first.
Crazy. I am. I just haven't been done yet.
Right, now members, please. Yes, I am.
Thank you so much.
Bill and Gregory and Zoe, thank you guys for taking the time to honor Miss Myers in that way. And Brent, congratulations. What an honor. Good job. All right, moving on to the next item is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing proceeding with issuance of one or more series of City of Temple, Texas combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation in a maximum principal amount not to exceed $64 million, and further directing the publication of notice of intention to issue such certificates of obligation and other matters related thereto. Ms. Bernard.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm having a problem locating a presentation.
Uh-oh.
1 second.
Want us to move to another item?
I think you got it, Kelly. I might just start on a few, and I'll start to go through as Kelly gets the slide up or the show PowerPoint up, great, but not, I can walk through it. But as you just read, this is a resolution directing directing publication for the notice of the intent to issue. Part of this is it identifies the maximum amount and purpose of what to issue, the manner in which the COs will be paid or certificates of obligations, the time and place of the ordinance authorizing the issuance. It also authorizes the Director of Finance, financial advisor, and bond counsel to prepare the necessary bond and offering documents to effectuate the sale of the certificates, including the application to appropriate rating agencies. Included, the not to exceed amount on this resolution is $64 million. It includes $39.2 million for Smart Growth Mobility CIP. It includes $15.5 million for our Places and Spaces CIP, $7.1 million for facilities, and $2.2 million for public safety. The payback or source is INS tax pledge for all of the various categories, and with the facilities, the term is 15 to 20, depending on what facilities, either 15 or 20-year bonds. Just to go through a few of the projects in the $39.2 million, includes construction funds for Hartrick Bluff Road reconstruction, Poison Oak Phase 2 of $8.3 million, 42nd Street reconstruction of $5.8 million, some additional funding for Kegley Phase 3 and 4, and also adds to our pavement preservation and reconstruction. For the Places and Spaces, just to highlight a few, it includes Nugent Avenue improvements from 3rd Street to 14th Street, the construction, Storybook Grove Park, funding of $2.9 million. Very good, Kelly. Right on the right slide. Also includes phases 3 and 4 of the district identification, 1.8 million. And West, Trail in West Temple, interior to Prairie View Park of $1.5 million. Next slide, please. Can you go forward, please? Yes. Yes, looking at the facilities, it includes some funding for the renovations at the Salmon's Clubhouse, some miscellaneous building renovations of 1.7 million. Includes some, the server room remodel. And again, the total for facilities is 7.1 million. Looking at public safety, we did defer some of the public safety this year, but it includes $1.2 million funding for replace fire engine number 4, the purchase of 3 fire squad vehicles. 2 of those are replacements and upgrades, and 1 is an addition to the fleet. And then we have some contingency funding. As the mayor mentioned, and we've mentioned tonight about the growing city, the city continues to implement the largest capital improvement program in the history of the community. And the city's financing plan recommends significant funding to invest in our infrastructure and systems, plan for our design, construct, and maintain high quality facilities, prioritize our parks and neighborhood plans, enhance public safety through the expansion of technology, facilities, and equipment. Just our approach of the financing plan is phased funding of design and right-of-way prior to funding construction. The goal is to minimize and stabilize the tax rate impact, maximize opportunity for tax-based growth, strategy of balancing the debt amortization year over year, and also to align funding with project readiness. Just a timeline here today, we're asking for your approval of this resolution of the notice of intent to issue. The notice will run March 10th through the 23rd, and beginning in into April, we'll start working with bond rating agencies for conference calls to get a bond rating that will be issued the week of May 6th. And then schedule on May 16th, the ordinance that would actually, where you'd consider the authorizing the sale of the COs. And then on June 6th, closing and the COs are delivered. We have our bond counsel, Carol Palumbo and Jacqueline Hale. I believe they are online. And then tonight with us is Dan Woodmiller, our financial advisor, and he also has Cole Gilmore with them. And if you have any questions, either I can address them or Dan, Carol, or Jacqueline.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Council, any questions? Everybody okay? All right. Then, council, I will entertain a motion on item number 8.
Make a motion to approve item 8.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Walker. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, please cast your vote. Item 8 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to the consent agenda, all items listed under this section of the agenda, which is called the consent agenda, are considered to be routine by the city council and may be enacted in one motion. If discussion is desired by the council, any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member and be considered separately. Council, there was discussion in workshop about the consent agenda. It's my understanding that nothing's going to be pulled from that tonight. Is that correct?
Okay, I'll make a note. In council, in workshop, we tried to pull Q, item Q, which is a resolution declaring that we would not need an election because it's unopposed, and I was pulling it in workshop just to congratulate the mayor because he had no opponent. That's why we're pulling it. And you don't have an opponent because you're a great mayor. So thank you. But we had to do it here because the mayor was late to workshop. So anyway, here we go. Go right ahead and we'll vote on the consent agenda.
Thank you very good. And thank you for those comments. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate it. I love the work. We're doing good things. And I'm just am proud to continue to be part of it. So, all right, then council, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval on the consent agenda, which is items 9A through 9R.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 9A through 9R.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long, and we have a second by Councilmember Pilkington. Council, please cast your vote. The consent agenda, which is 9A through 9R, passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to the regular agenda, which is, we'll start with item number 10, is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance approving a rezoning request from heavy industrial to planned development multifamily dwelling 2 and site development plan on 11.26 plus or minus acres in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 2600 West Avenue G, which is tax ID number 2369. Mr. Chandler.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. And just wanted to point out that a representative from the developer, Gilbane Development, Adam Moore, is here in the crowd if you have any questions for him after the presentation. And also just wanted to point out, you see an asterisk next to our schedule, Planning and Zoning Commission on Monday. And then, of course, it's before you all today, which is unusual, but wanted to point out that the reason for that expedited schedule was to be able to accommodate and work directly with the developer and our design consultants to kick off an I-35 master plan process and be able to include them. And so here's the property, and especially those of you that have grown up in Temple probably remember this as the American Desk company originally, and most recently Atlas Storage. But you can see it backs up to the railroad and also to Salmon's Golf Course. And so you'll see in the zoning exhibit, dark purple represents heavy industrial. So it's a heavy industrial site now. And you see that it's surrounded by other heavy industrial, but also light industrial, the light purple. It's near I-35, but it's not in the I-35 overlay. And so the applicant has been working with us to be able to build 4-story multifamily complex with a maximum of 349 units. It's essentially a density of 32 dwelling units per acre on this 11 plus acre site. And just a quick table up there just to show you that, of course, this is a planned development multifamily. Multifamily 2 has a max of 4 stories. They're exceeding that density, but because of the site and uniqueness of it, we worked with the applicant to have this as a planned development multifamily 2 as opposed to multifamily 3, which has very limited, or 2 is much more limited in terms of height. We also worked with them to provide an exception to our parking ratio of 1.5 parking spaces per 1-bedroom unit, which includes studios. This is based on their expertise. They have done this all over the country. They're a national multifamily developer. This works, meets their needs, would result in a reduction of 64 spaces, but that is from 644. So total of 580 spaces still would be provided. And photos, don't really need to say much more than the site. And that is looking west. You can also see just some of the remainder. I also want to point out that because this is almost all concrete, probably 90% plus of the site is concrete. Their demolition cost, which they're doing on their own, is $1.2 million opinion of probable cost. So as you can imagine, that is no small feat or investment. And then when we look from 57th Street, looking at Salmons Park or Salmons Golf Course, and then on the bottom, looking from the cart path, and we'll get into that in a second, because since the 1980s, we've had a cart path of the golf course on this private property. So we've been working closely with them to come to a solution. When you look at property to the east, you can see warehousing and retail and small distribution. On the west side, you can see just some of the other businesses. And then also to the west, the golf course, a drainage feature / creek, and a tunnel under the railroad right of way. And then just the property to the north, of course, that's also Salmons Golf Course, and you can see the rail line a little more closely. So let's talk about the site plan. You can see that they're proposing 4 buildings at 4 stories max, as we discussed, some covered parking, and 3 entries, subdivision entry widened, to accommodate emergency vehicles if needed. Those are called improved entrances, and so those 3 can accommodate the 349 dwelling units that they propose. The bottom, conceptual elevations of what those buildings would look like. And just keep in mind that we've also been working with them as a condition to add some either small Juliet balconies or full-size balconies at strategic locations on the 3rd and 4th floor. Those are not reflected in that design. When you look at the landscape plan, they have been working with us to meet the I-35 landscaping requirements as much as feasible. And so even with some right-of-way dedication, which I'll talk about more in a second, they're able to exceed our minimum of just general standards of 5% and almost reach the 15% overall site landscaping that's required in the I-35 overlay. So they're at 12.6% that you can see. And that includes in the courtyard areas as well, but also includes trees and landscaping within the within parking islands. And that's a big part of the I-35 overlay. Just a little bit more of the background. As I mentioned, the golf course cart path has been there since the 1980s. There are no easements for that. And so we've been working closely with Gilbane to relocate the golf course, or excuse me, not the golf course. That would be difficult and expensive, but just the cart path. And so top right, you can see what that alignment might look like. That's just a conceptual, but also they would grant us an easement along the creekway because we can't move that tunnel or the drainage feature, but we can reroute the cart path and where it meets that element. Also, just to make it a little more complicated, there is an 8-inch public sewer main that bisects the property. You can see that on the left. So the applicant and the city are working together to share that cost. And then lastly, right-of-way dedication. And so during that master planning process, which is still early in its stages of development, but working with the developer to come up with a concept that would eventually take 57th Street, route it over kind of an S curve connecting to Avenue G, coming up 49th Street to provide additional access between Adams and I-35. And so the developer has also agreed to dedicate the right-of-way shown in blue there for a future project. Left hand, you can see that heavy industrial uses are on the left-hand column, multifamily 2 on the right. And really the takeaway is there's a lot. You can do almost pretty much anything in heavy industrial. Multifamily too, it's very limited, mostly residential. And then just the surrounding uses, we looked at those photographs, but you can take a moment and take a look at that if you like. And then dimensional standards on the left, multifamily two. I think the takeaway is, of course, the limited 4 stories, and heavy industrial, you see a bunch of NAs, which means it doesn't apply. So a little more regulation to ensure appropriate development at that location. Looking at traffic counts and specifically the multifamily mid-rise apartment building, which is 4 to 10 stories. So this is at the bottom end of that, but would generate 1,584 daily trips. Of course, that is out and back, but this is per the Institute of Transportation Engineers. And just in comparison, single family attached or townhomes would have that same level of traffic for 220 units. So 349 for a mid-rise multifamily project produces comparable traffic for 220 townhomes. Looking at the comprehensive plan, this area is shown as regional commercial. However, it also does say apartment uses are appropriate on a conditional basis. And certainly we think this is a very appropriate location for it. The thoroughfare plan does not identify anything on the photo here as anything other than a local street. So no collectors, no arterials. However, once again, you can see kind of that rough dashed alignment of a future collector with the right-of-way dedicated by the applicant to be able to improve access and connectivity through this area. No conflicts with the mobility master plan. Sidewalks would be provided with future street improvements along this development. And then the corridor plan and I-35 redevelopment master plan that we talked about, once again, is in its early stages. And notice was printed in the newspaper on February 22nd, and 17 notices were mailed out to property owners within 200 feet. We just received 1 response, and it was from the applicant, so not from any of the neighbors. Development Review Committee did review this project on December 18th. And this is also located within the Temple Independent School District. And you should have in your packet an email of support from Dr. Bobby Ott, superintendent for this project. And so staff is recommending an approval. And so did Planning and Zoning Commission by a unanimous vote on Monday, and subject to the following plan development conditions, including the exceptions to the multifamily 2 standards that we talked about, the 32 dwelling units per acre and the 1.5 parking spaces per 1-bedroom units. The compliance with the landscape plan, also lighting standards to ensure that there's no light trespass to neighboring properties. The golf cart path, the developer would pay 100% of the relocation and work with us in terms of that design using their engineers, but ultimately we have final approval on the design. Relocating the existing wastewater line through the middle of the property to the right-of-way, which is the way it's done now. Architectural design guidelines, including having Juliet or full balconies on 3rd and 4th corner units, northern side of the buildings, and also facing Lake Polk. That the Director of Planning and Development may approve adjustments based on economic feasibility. So that's a little bit different, but because of all the unique elements of this project, economic feasibility would be evaluated. Also, safety netting would be required on the west and north sides unless, and the developer has agreed to do this, that the developer essentially indemnifies the city from any stray golf balls that may do some damage. So they're fully aware and are in agreement to take that off, that liability off of the city. And also that the developer dedicate the 15 feet of right of way for a future collector, and that the city at that time would provide the street trees and sidewalks rather than having them put them in and when we don't have a design yet and potentially have to take out that infrastructure. Those sidewalks really aren't needed until there's other development around there anyway. So it's a win-win. The city would deed the remainder strip of 57th Street, which is one of their entry points. So there's a little section of 57th that terminates into their property. Well, that will be their entrance. And so in order to preserve that entrance and for us to not have to maintain a stub when 57th Street is realigned, the developer has agreed to take that and maintain it. The entrances would comply with our subdivision entrance design requirements and the site plan. The developer would also construct and maintain open space and recreation facilities, including pool, per the site plan. The just overall compliance with the site plan elevations, and then lastly, the subdivision plat required prior to building permit. That's all I have. And once again, Mr. Moore is here if you have any questions for him.
Very good. Council, anything for Mr. Chandler?
I have a comment. This place has been extremely ugly, especially since the fire, and I'm very appreciative of the developers' willingness to come into our community and try to make something nice out of it.
Sounds like a wonderful development.
I agree. I also wanted to thank the developer for working with us. I know he spent a lot of time with staff, and this, as Brian pointed out, there were a lot of considerations and kind of interesting things about this property. And I wanted to also mention that Brian and his team, also Aaron and David in my office, Kyle and Kathy's office, and Don and Richard in Public Works, and Kevin all spent a great amount of time on this particular project. And I think it's really going to be a very high quality and catalyst development for this area. So thank you for working with us. I know we had several meetings with the developer, and he was very gracious to help us get to this project being, I think, what will be wonderful for the area.
So many people drive through Temple and what they see just from I-35, right? They think that's all of Temple. And then when they look over there and they see that big concrete, whatever that is, I think this is going to be, like Brent said, I think it's going to be a catalyst project that we can begin to use it to begin to leverage some other good projects. So after this vote, no takebacks. You know that.
I'm grateful for your agreeing to really consider the balconies. I think it will be very nice for the residents if you're able to put those in, to be able to look at the lake and the golf course. The visuals will be very nice.
All right. This item is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, we ask you step to the podium, state your name for the record, please, or raise your hand on the platform. Nothing? No one on the platform? No one from the audience? Very good. Then council, I'll close this public hearing. And if there are no further comments, then I'll entertain a motion on item number 10.
I move to approve item 10 with the conditions outlined.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Grant. We have a second by Councilmember Pilkington. Council, please cast your vote. Item 10 passes 5 votes to 0. Again, thank you, Mr. Moore. Item 11 is to consider adopting a resolution finding that 2 wastewater easements and 2 temporary construction easements located on properties addresses 1125 and 2716 Moores Mill Road, Temple, Texas, Bell County, Texas, are necessary for the construction of the Little Elm Trunk Sewer Extension Project, and authorize the use of eminent domain to condemn the easement interests pursuant to Government Code Section 2206.053. Ms. Demers.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight, we're here to discuss the Little Elm Trunk Sewer Extension Project and ask for authorization to acquire by condemnation some easement interest we need. This is a map of the project. As you can see, it's located near or crosses over the proposed north outer loop. Brewster Road, Moores Mill, that area is on the north side of town. The red line is the actual easement. The blue line are temporary construction easements. And the two properties circled there in yellow are the two that we're here about tonight. So due to the continued economic development in the industrial park in northwest portion of Temple, it's resulted in the need for increased sewer capacity. And so to help to meet this demand, an extension of Little Elm Creek trunk sewer is being built. The project requires wastewater easements and temporary construction easements from 7 private property owners. Clark Land Resources is the right-of-way services company that's assisting with this project. As of tonight, we've acquired easement interest from 1 property owner. And then earlier tonight on consent agenda, council accepted the donation of easement interest from 2 property owners and also approved an agreement that we reached with another one of the owners. Also, this week, we were able to reach an agreement with another property owner. So that request for approval will be presented at the next meeting on March 21st. So tonight, we're asking for authorization to condemn the easement interest from the 2 remaining property owners. The first one is at 1125 Moores Mill Road. We need a 0.1823 acre wastewater easement and a 0.3860 acre temporary construction easement. We made an initial offer to the owner of record on November 8th. Just compensation was determined to be $6,100. The owner indicated to Clark Land Resources that they would submit a counter offer. Clark reached out several times, but none was ever presented. So we sent a final offer on January 26th. They did state to Clark they were rejecting that offer. Again, said they would present a counter offer, but we have not received one. If we do get one, we'll consider it. But at this time, we felt that condemnation was the best route forward to get these easement interest. And as you can see, we have an existing city easement on that property, and the needed easements will connect into that existing easement. And that's just kind of a survey of the needed easement interest next to the aerial overlay, which is very approximate. So the next one is at 2716 Moores Mill Road. We need a 0.837 acre wastewater easement and a 2.26069 acre temporary construction easement. We made the initial offer to the owner on December 19th. Just compensation was determined to be $20,200. Did not receive a response from the owner despite attempts to contact. So we sent a final offer on January 26th and made some more attempts to contact the owner, phone, email, even in person, but we've never been able to communicate with this owner. So at this point, condemnation appears to be the best route. Again, there's the survey. This one kind of zigzags across this property. Battery died. Okay. So due to the lack of the response and inability to negotiate with the owners, in order to meet the proposed construction schedule, we feel like eminent domain is necessary in asking for authorization tonight. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any sort of restriction placed on the landowner that grants easements like this to be able to tap into that line at future date if needed?
A lot of times,
I mean, the city would do that, right?
right,
It's in
we
the
usually
limits.
do if they ask.
Yeah.
A lot of times, something that has been a request by some of them, and working with Public Works and the design engineers were most of the time able to accommodate that.
Yeah.
So
So in many ways, it seems like it's advantageous to the owner to have the line through their property
yes.
in the long term.
In the long
They don't want
term.
construction in the
They
short
don't
term. I
see
get
it,
it.
right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
get it. Pardon?
And to negotiate with them.
Right.
That's how they get.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, council, any questions? All right, then if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion on item 11. And please know that you've got special motion language at your desk.
I move that the city of Temple approve resolution number 2024-0075-R and authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire 2 wastewater easements and 2 temporary construction easements necessary for the construction of the Little Elm Trunk Sewer Extension Project Those easements being described as a 0.1823 acre wastewater easement and a 0.386 acre temporary construction easement, both situated in the William Haddon Survey Abstract 392, Bell County, Texas, embracing a portion of a called 32.238 acre tract conveyed to Nicholas Leslie Blunt on document number 2017-000189225, official public records of real property, Bell County, Texas, and a 0.8737 acre wastewater easement and a 2.2069 acre temporary construction easement, both situated in the William Gilmore Survey Abstract 339, Bell County, Texas, embracing a portion of a called 41.21 acre tract conveyed to Marilyn Clark in volume 4223, page 503, official public records of real property, Bell County, Texas.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Pilkington. We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Walker. Council, please cast your vote. Item 11 passes 5 votes to 0. Thank you all for attending tonight's meeting. That's completion of the agenda. It is currently 6:32 and we are